Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Good morning, everybody. Dia's here. Got your new passport holder. I'm so glad you like it. I remember yours was the one we had in the thumbnail. I very thoughtfully just decided to put that in the thumbnail. Um, Thanks for picking up one of those, and I'm glad you like the tumbled deer skin. It's really special, right? Especially in person, it's just very different than over the internet like this. Um, that's actually the biggest challenge for us is showing you how awesome the leather is without you experiencing it with all of your senses. So I'm glad it was well received, Dia. Thank you so much. It's a wallet party. Doug Castellan is working on your wallets actually. Getting pretty close for Pepper and for your special like life story encompassed into a wallet. Some of your life story. It seems like you've had multiple lives, but we've got that one in the cooker right now too, Doug. Good to see you too. And hey, Jaron. Good morning. Hi, Russ Bucket. Good morning. Crispy's here. Oh my God, Jeff D's here. Alex is here. Alex said best part of having living in Illinois is that I get to order next and the next day it's shipped out. We try to ship. We failed, but we try to ship everything in within one business day. So if you ordered something, in fact, everything that was ordered in the last 24 hours is right here in the little picture to my right. And we, if it's in stock on the site, we have it here, but it may or may not be completely finished. So in fact, everything that we're about to look at will be finished today. That's sort of the goal here is to get all the edges cleaned up, polish up the leather, give it a little brushing, QC everything. We actually failed on one or two orders from over the weekend. Something we had to irregular and we couldn't complete a full order. There was like one little item that we couldn't complete. But in normal days, it's 1 day to get stuff shipped. We ship it the same day or the next day. And worst case scenario is 2 days. And then sometimes we'll do pre-orders. In fact, I'll spill the beans. They're not even made yet. We started cutting them, but we're going to do a run of Capone Foxes, and I still need to come up with a new name for it. The goal is to get that done this week, but they're going to be offered as a pre-order. I think Matt said he cut about a dozen different colors that will be pre-order items. So something like that we can, we obviously won't stock, but it will take us a couple weeks to have them made. And then with the cordovan belts that we've done one round of so far, that was a long wait time for many people. Some people got them shipped pretty quickly. But the shell belts is looking more like 8 to 12 weeks, just based on how much effort and time it takes to craft those. That's a very challenging product. Oh my God, so good to see you guys. I'm gonna start here first. It's very, very important and very meaningful to me to have everybody's support. You guys in the chat here, just being here is support enough. But then we've had people that have picked up some products from us and are able to share this leather that I speak a lot about. Like kind of blabber about is what I wanted to say. But a really big thanks needs to go out to people that have ordered over the last 24 hours here, including Jacob S., Joseph H., Tony, Jonathan M., Josiah B., Lauren H., Matthew, Way C., Donal C., Nicholas B., Travis K., Newton C., Tomas P., Garman, Jonathan M., RDL, Nicholas M., Robert C., Pierre L., Stephen C., Krishna K., Christopher O., Brad G., Matthew L., Alex L., Kevin H., Jacob V., Greg G., Steve, David D., Scott E., Yasuhiro N., Trevor N., Nancy S., Caesar O., Kevin T., Liz T., Jeremy M., Valen G., and Michael B. Thank you guys so much. And everybody that just listed off, if you've ordered an item that was not made to order, we're probably going to see it right now. So let's switch the camera over, have some more coffee. Ooh, I'm addicted. I'll bring you over across the room here because we got a bunch of great stuff, including I wanted to lead off with the belts here first. I'm all tangled up with wires. You should see how crazy this rat nest is. Wow. I want to start off with belts because I love our belts. I think they're really nice, especially this. Normally, I don't show them buckled. So this would be a good chance to show this guy here because I was just admiring how clean and nice this color number 8 Chrome Excel belt is. And if you look at it, as I angle it, normally we don't see this much directionality of color in the Chrome Excel as we do in the shell. But this color 8 Chrome Excel is a really nice, like deep burgundy. And I think if you were to look at it in not such a direct light, it will appear more brown, but it definitely has those sort of cherry red undertones. And all of our belts are made out of extra thick leather. So this is as thick as a steer hide will become. As thick as it gets. It's roughly 9 ounces thick. Usually the spec is between 8 to 10 ounces thick, and that's what you see here. So we use online belts. I find them to be tremendously comfortable, both in the Chrome Excel as well as in the Dublin. And the Dublin here, I think the color of that orangey tan pairs really nicely with jeans. And sorry for hitting the camera there. I think this pairs great with denim. There's something about this color with the blue of denim that just go well. And I think there is still a notion that you should match your belt to your footwear. I've sort of seen that rule kind of fall out of favor in recent, like the last couple decades, really. You know, I think as people become a little bit more casual, you know, wearing boots and jeans, those sort of rules don't really apply anymore. And then we have another one. We have a few other belts going out today. So if you don't see your size here, I just picked one of each color. We also have the black. This is black Chrome Excel going out. You can see the color has been layered on top of this natural base on the back. We got this little tab flipping out. But the color here this is a finishing type that's become sort of a trope recently. People call this T-core, where there's one color finished on top of another. So when the grain layer is sort of scuffed and abraded, you reveal a little bit more of those sort of sandy, light tan taupe colors that kind of peek through. And once that's become polished up, it starts to look really, really neat, but it's not for everybody. Not everybody wants that sort of contrast or two-tone effect in their leather goods. I tend to like it very much. I'm wearing a pair of brown Chrome Excel indie boots that I've had for about a decade. Everything's a decade. And they've really, really scratched up and they look awesome. All right, let's get into some wallets. Speaking of Dublin, we looked at a Dublin belt. This is a English tan Dublin small zip. So we have that incredible natural character of the grain on this English tan Dublin. And that's, you can see right down through to all that bits of character because this is an aniline leather, meaning there's no solids in the finish. It's more of a dye and a stain as opposed to a paint. So it very much has a nice natural appearance. And then you see a little bit of luster here because there's a hard wax layer finished onto the surface of the Dublin. It gives it that little bit of sheen. It also adds to the resilience of it. In the same way, I'll bring out the Cypress. Oh, always looking an excuse to show my wallet off. This is the new Royal Blue Cypress Fat Herbie I've been wearing for a few months now. And you can see the scratch that we looked at yesterday. I haven't polished it yet, but as I wear this, oh, my dad's calling me. Call you back, Dad. But as I wear, oh, I totally lost you now. Hold on. Oh boy. Oh my God, everything broke. I forgot to put on the do not disturb mode. Let's fix this. Sorry, guys. What is my dad calling me for, anyways? I'm going to call him after. All right, let's see if I can get this back here. Why is this not connecting? Oh my God, show's over. We ruined it. One sec. I think I can fix this. I'm the tech guy and the performer. All right, whatever. Got to roll with it. I was talking about English and Dublin on the small zip. Uh, and I've lost my train of thought, but I love the Dublin. We have Latigo on the inside. You'll notice that this is a different thickness on the interior of the leather. This is as thin as a leather gets. We were talking about the thick belt being roughly like 9-10 ounces. The leather that we need to choose for both the Johnny the Fox that we'll look at in a moment and the small zip need to be as thin as it gets, but still be resilient. So these are roughly between 2 and 3 ounces thick for all the leather on the interior of the small zip. Let me pull one of the Foxes just to demonstrate what I'm talking about here. We have so many different layers of leather on both the small zip and the Johnny the Fox that if we use our normal 4-ounce thickness, that additional 1 to 1.5, 2 ounces of each piece of leather really add up quickly. And I find it to be just more of it just feels right on the Johnny the Fox with this 4-ounce thick on the back and like 2 to 3 ounces for the interior. There's something about this heft that just feels correct, and the bulkiness of it is just very nice. I think most people that are familiar with some of our wallets would feel like this is a little bit on the thin side, but I really like it. We also use Latigo, and we've been using some Cypress recently. We do some cordovan for the interiors of the Johnny the Fox because they're also very, very tough, and they tend to not have much stretch, which is a big challenge for card holders on a wallet design like this. If you have a leather that stretches out a lot, your cards just fall out. So we need a non-stretchy leather that's very thin. It's a really tall order for the tannery to have thin and non-stretchy. But the Latigo leather that Horween makes is a pasted leather, meaning that is dried on a big glass. Imagine like a large window that you stick a glue to, a little adhesive, and then press it up against that glass and spread it out. And then it goes through an oven as it's spread across with the glue affixed to the glass. And it becomes less stretchy for that reason. You're pre-stretching it and then drying it stretched. The Latigo is dried in that way, and that's why we chose it for these wallets. So black and teal Johnny the Foxes are one of our most popular items right now. I think people come across this on Google frequently, and because it's so different from everything else, they pick it up. So we sell a bunch of those, which is great. We also have a lot of Capones going out the door these days. This is the brand new Cypress also, and I'll bring out my excuse again to show off my Herbie. I should look to see how are things sounding and looking. I'll walk over and check the chat in a second here, but hopefully things are sounding fine. Hopefully I didn't break everything. New Cypress here. This is the brown color of Cypress, and we also have the royal blue. Hopefully we'll have some new colors to come eventually in addition to these two, but we really like the classic look of the brown Cypress here. I think a lot of people imagine leather to be a color that is similar to this. I think if you say the word leather to somebody, they're not picturing a blue, right? So this is like a little avant-garde, a little bit more funky, and this is a little bit more traditional. So we've got the Capone money clip going out today. You can see we've got the natural waxed and burnished edges that sort of look like a finished piece of wood. Very, very nice. And we have an antique brass money clip for the Cypress here. Let me just go check the chat to see if things are coming across properly. All right, thanks guys. I'm shaking the camera. Threw me off with everything breaking. That's why I guess that's why you have a tech guy. All right, let me show you this Capone here. This is color number 8 shell cordovan. We've got a matching hand-stained edge here. And these are special because we're using the same exact dye and blend that Horween uses to achieve the look of color 8 on the shells here. We're using that same blend on the edges, which hopefully you can see just how perfectly that matches. I think it lends to a very, very clean look. And it's a little bit of additional work, but I appreciate it. I think it just really refines the look of the black and color 8 shell, the classic colors. I sort of wanted to give a little bit more of like a classic look. So that's why we switched over all the black and color 8 to that look. We can also do a natural waxed and burnished edge. Let's see if I can find one here. On any color by request. But as a standard offering, we don't hand stain the edges. As a standard offering for the black and color 8, we do stain those edges. We can have it made to order and do a natural waxed and burnished edge that looks like this. So this is natural shell cordovan, no color applied to the edge. We wanted to match the color of the natural onto the edges. Of course, you do get a little bit of darkening that happens because of those waxes that are burnished into place. Essentially what you're doing is you're filling in all the fibers with a little bit of wax and other materials to have it become more of a stable, solid like surface. And then as you burnish it, it becomes shiny. That's what we see here. Pretty nice look on this natural shell cordovan Tony the Ant. And if you're looking for patina, the light colors like the natural shell are the way to go. If you want to see what this wallet looks like here, a natural shell cordovan Fat Herbie, take a look at the homepage of our website, ashlandleather.com. And you can see a photo there that says day 1 and day 1000. The transformation in the patina accumulation that happens on the natural shell cordovan is really special. It becomes darker, becomes more golden brown, but also the luster develops into layers. So right now we're seeing sort of a surface luster. You can also see that we haven't polished this up. Everything that we're looking at still needs to go through our finishing process. So the luster does have that bright, shiny sort of mirror-like sheen to it. And that luster you're seeing was imparted by the tannery in a process called glazing. So what they do is they apply a little bit of water and Venetian shoe cream, which we sell. It's got like a little bit of wax in it that will allow some fill to happen into the shell. So they apply the Venetian and then they put it under this glazing jack, which is essentially a fixed piece of glass that is on a jack that sort of moves in a sort of oval shape. And then it applies pressure on the downward force. And that pressure of the glass onto the shell as it keeps going like this really, really brings out a luster, especially on the surface. But what I've noticed is as you wear a piece of cordovan or as you wear a piece of veg tan leather, there's almost this inner glow that starts to happen just from wearing it. It's an additional luster that's like from underneath. So you start to develop layers of luster on the shell that I find to be very, very special. All right, here's another one of our latest offerings. We did a private stock event last Friday where we sold some old stock Chrome Excel leather with a Scotch grain texture in it. Now this one's in the tan color. It's really, really nice. We should probably consider doing, there's actually a color called Chicago tan that's kind of similar to this. It's got like a little bit more of an orangey vibe. We should consider bringing back Chrome Excel because just this is so nice. And I suspect it's extra nice because of how long it's sat around. We've been sitting on this leather for a decade and it's become more and more full in terms of temper and feel as it's sat. I'm unsure why that happens, but I do know that Horween, for example, ages their shell cordovan for 3 months before they ship it. So there is something to be said for letting those oils and things that have been tanned into the leather sort of mobilize and migrate around all the different fibers. As it spreads out, they tend to get nicer. So it's really, really interesting. Here's our best-selling wallet, Johnny the Fox, English Tan Dublin. Love English Tan Dublin. Very bright. And it is a color, which you don't see, like with the blue cypress is also a bright color. A lot of heavily veg tanned and leathers that have been finished with a lot of oil tend to be brown and darker. They don't tend to have like a nice vibrance to them. But that is why I like the English Tan Dublin from Horween. It still has like a lot of life to the color. And of course, a lot of natural variance and a lot of natural character. So a lot of those wallets too. I think it's just a really clean look. Here's something we just added back to stock. You can see this is for order 31187. So if that's your order number, this is your wallet. We've got an all reverse color 8 shell cordovan Johnny the Fox here. And what reverse color 8 means, let's see if I can demonstrate. It's the exact opposite of this wallet. So this is a 100% shell cordovan Johnny the Fox in the color number 8 color. Now, if we were to flip every piece of this wallet backwards, this is what it looks like on the inside. And let's demonstrate here. So you can see the shell side of the leather on the outside of the wallet. If I look in the inside, this is the bill slot here. So this is what we call the reverse side of the cordovan. Oftentimes, there's a really dramatic amount of dye splatter that happens on the reverse sides of the shells. And in addition to that, we also are able to feature the Horween ink stamp, which gets stamped onto each shell one time by the tannery. So people came to us because they really liked the look. We actually started making it because we thought this looked cool. And then people, I think, ended up picking them up because they wanted that authenticated Horween ink stamp to be prominently featured. So we started making these. I'm actually surprised that we're selling them again. I think my brother decided to restock these. It's a little bit challenging because if you look at the photo on the website, it looks similar to this, but it's not the same. Every piece of reverse shell cordovan is completely random. And you can really see that demonstrated here on all the interior card holders. Every one of these colors and every one of the dye splatters on them is just like completely random. So it's a tough one for us to sell for that reason. Every piece is unique. I do think it's fun to see these two side by side. The 100% color 8 is a completely different look. Same leather, just flipped backwards. It's a very clean look on this wallet where we have the matching hand-stained edges on every piece of this wallet. All the edges of the wallet, including the tops of the card holders, are that color number 8 stain that matches perfectly to the shell. So it's just a completely, it's like a more dressed up, like a completely dressed up version compared to this, which is a completely dressed down version. Very casual, very much makes a statement here. This one is just like very refined and clean. A couple Johnny the Foxes going out. I think we just restocked those color 8 foxes on like Thursday last week. Here's another great looking fox. Johnny the Fox here, natural shell cordovan. Again, this is the color you want for patina. And then reverse interior. This is actually reverse color 8. On the inside, you can see the color 8 there in the bill slot. We're not able to do reverse natural because the natural shells are much less common and we're not able to sort through and find the thin pieces of cordovan that we need. We are able to get a lot of color 8 and black, which is why we chose reverse color 8 here. We're able to sort through and find thin pieces that are more appropriate for the Johnny the Fox interior. So that's why we do reverse color 8 on the inside of the natural shell. On the outside, man, I forgot to mention I have a surprise to show you too. Before we get to that, let's finish everything else. So speaking of black, this is black shell cordovan with a reverse interior. You'll notice the reverse side of the black shells are green, where the reverse side of the color 8 are more like reddish tan. I think that's really neat. And the reason that the color looks green is the dye that they're using here. If you were to dilute this a bit, you'll notice in the water that it becomes a little bit green. That's because the black dye has a green tint to it. I didn't know this before I started working in a finishing department at a tannery, but every black dye that you see is tinted in one way or another. You can find blue blacks, you can find green blacks like this. You can also find like red blacks. All of them are not a pure black. They're often tinted with something. And the one that Horween is using has a green bit to it, which is pretty fascinating. So that's why we're seeing the reverse side of the black shell cordovan with that green color. Beautiful Johnny the Fox here. And we also do the natural waxed and burnished edges for this color combination. Very, very nice. We got some smaller accessories too. Let me clean up just quickly. And then I'll give you a little sneak peek at the surprise. All right, so here's the rest of the stuff that's been picked up from the last 24 hours. And here's a little peek at the surprise. Okay. JTT. All right, natural shell cordovan again on an Apple Watch band. We just restocked these. They're very beautiful. They're unlined straps. I'm wearing a natural chromic cell Apple Watch band here. I find them to be tremendously comfortable. So we've got one in natural shell, one in color 8 shell, which this one has that hand-stained edge again. Beautiful watch straps. Several of those going out today too. Here's an English Tan Dublin vault key holder. Still need to put the hardware in that guy. This is one of our only wallets that does not fold. This is our Frank the Enforcer. It's a nice card holder that we envision more of a front pocket wearer will wear. And you can really see the random character and natural variation on this Englishman also, but a really great minimalist front pocket wallet there. Here is our Chicago comb. This is a carbon fiber comb that I actually use frequently. I really like their combs, and we sell them English Tan Dublin comb sheets. So this is an actual size of that carbon fiber comb. It looks exactly like that. And then we sell the sheet that sort of fits around it just like that. They sell a bunch of combs. It's really incredible to see how they've grown over the years. But we partnered up with them also about a decade ago. Been making comb sheets for them ever since. So Chicago comb, carbon fiber, English Tan Dublin sheath. I haven't seen those sell in a bit. So I wonder if maybe we just restocked them or something. Here's some Saphir cordovan cream. This is the product that we use at Ashland to finish every shell cordovan wallet before we ship it. So we put a little application of this product on every shell, buff it in with a soft cloth, let it sit for a minute, a couple minutes, and then brush it off with a soft horsehair brush like this guy here. And the last piece of the day that we're shipping out today, got to get these all to finishing. Natural Chrome Excel on our XL Valet tray. You can see on the inside, it has that interesting kind of clean look, even though it's on the flesh side of the leather. It's pretty neat to see. And the reason that you're seeing it so clean here, not so much as a suede look, is because we filled in all the fibers on the flesh side of this natural Chrome Excel with a little bit of a resin, and then they iron it smooth. And the result is what you see here. Very, very clean look on the inside of that XL Valet tray. Now, here's what I'm going to work on after I say goodbye to you pleasant folks. This is some made-to-order wallets that were ordered probably 4 weeks ago. It's taking us about 4 weeks to make stuff right now, give or take. But I'll just give you a quick preview here because I want to make like a full nice video of these today. It looks like we got a raw denim shell cordovan Bugs Moran with a reverse interior. That's beautiful. Here's the denim blue shell cordovan on a Tony the Ant. Full denim blue there. What do we have here? This looks like a color 4 Frank the Enforcer, and this looks like a garnet Frank the Enforcer. This is my first time looking at these. This is a Johnny the Fox in raw natural with raw natural on the inside. That's incredible. Looks like there might be 2 of them here. Are there 3? What's this? Oh, this is normal natural. So this is a good chance to show the difference between natural shell cordovan, as most people are familiar with, and the raw natural, which is a little bit more of a recent variant on the shell cordovan. You can see the raw natural has much less shine to it. There is a little bit of luster. So it's not completely dead, but it's not close to the normal cordovan. This is what the glazing process I described earlier does. Really gives you that sort of wet, shiny look. Beautiful. But I love raw natural for its potential to develop a dramatic patina. Because it's a lighter shade, because it's dull, it has more dramatic aging to it. It becomes bright and shiny, it becomes much darker in color. That's really cool to see. Here's looks like inverted. What is this? This is a marbled black shell on the outside here with a really cool look. Wax and burnished edge. Very nicely done. This is almost like a psychedelic interior. But wow, does that pair perfectly. This is our new traveler passport holder. That's really neat. It's almost kind of gives me like a camo vibe. What else we got? Another Herbie here. This is also marbled shell from the looks of it. This is marbled color 8, would be my suspicion, both on the outside and the inside. Beautiful. I'm going to skim through these just because I want to do a full video on this later. This looks to be inverted ultraviolet, which, wow, that is really awesome looking. And this is our passport field notes holder. It looks like we've got some inverted blue on the inside. Now, the inverted and marbled shells are ones that we can't really let you pick your exact piece because they're so random. It's so tough to let you pick exactly the look you're going to get. Here's a fun one. I think we've made several of these now. There's a video of us making a wallet. In fact, it's a video of Amir making one of these wallets. This is our Capone money clip with Western black shell cordovan on garnet shell cordovan. We've got a black hand-stained edge. And then the inside, we've got, well, this actually looks more like, this might be garnet too with a Western texture, but it kind of looks a little bit more brown than normal garnet. So it might be like a color 4 Western. And then it's got that reverse side of the garnet in the center here. That's really interesting. Normally I don't see the reverse side of garnet with that shade. So I'm wondering if we finished this backside ourselves and hand glazed it in. We may have done some extra work there, which I haven't really seen done before from us. That's a pretty cool component. We've made several of those now because I think people really liked watching the video of Amir making that wallet. I forget what we called that one, but I think it's called like making a cordovan wallet or something like that. This is a marbled piece again, a marbled ultraviolet shell cordovan. Huge context on this long wallet. So it's great to see marbled pieces used for a large pattern like this guy here, because you get to see all the range. So you can see much darker on this side, but there's a directionality of the color here, and much lighter on the other side. Beautiful. Got a nice hand stained edge, like an ultraviolet shade. And then here's the interior. We've got ultraviolet on the top and reverse. So it's marbled, normal, and then reverse. It's got all the variants, except for inverted on this piece here. Really beautiful. Looks like we even got a little Horween USA measuring machine stamp in the center. Cool stuff. I'll make a video of that after we get off from chatting with you guys here. Sorry for the camera going out like that. I should have known better, because my dad did say, "Oh, I'll call you back." All right, let's flip this, fix it. We did another live stream, guys. This is what you call winging it and just barely getting through the day. That's my life at the moment. Oh man, so great to see everybody here. And again, everybody that has picked up something from us, I'm excited for you to have it, and I'm really appreciative of everybody that supported us. I can't say that enough. All right, let's see what you guys are chatting about. Oh, say hi to my dad. We could call my dad. He's fun. Man, he's a riot. Classic Phil. That's so Phil. Yeah, thanks guys for helping me out earlier, telling me stuff is still working. All right, good morning, Mr. Chop Top. MJD is here. You got your first natural Chrome XL Johnny the Fox with Latigo interior. I thought it felt too thin, but now I love it in its perfect thickness. Yeah, that's kind of what I was describing. I feel like we have a little bit of experience with wallets now. And my strong opinion is the thinner Johnny the Fox is correct. Because maybe it's personal, like how many cards I use. So unless you're using like 6 or 8 cards, I think you want a thinner Fox. If you're only using like 6 cards, you can probably go with the thicker leather. But in my experience, that thing bulks up. Even just imagine what 8 credit cards looks like. It can get thick pretty quickly. So loaded up is a lot different of a vibe than unloaded. Your definition of leather is maybe black and brown, maybe tan. I think most people are that way, Quan. I agree. Actually, my wife gave me this what is this? Catalog. My wife gave me this catalog and said, "Hey, if you're looking for a gift." And I was kind of peeking around, like all the leathers that they're doing for this Claire V catalog are black. Oh, I guess there's a neon one. But like the leather ones are black and brown. There's not like a blue sort of cypress one. Here's a yellow, like neon thing. So I think most people, when they buy leather, they want it to look like leather. And I wonder if sometimes I've become so spoiled seeing so many different leather tannages and colors that I want something that excites me. So I think I'm just overly saturated with brown and black leather. But they're beautiful. Like I'm wearing, I should show you these indie boots. I will. I'll take these off as I read comments. It's me, BK. Good to see you, man. You said, have you ever guys made an Apple AirTag holder? We haven't. But I remember promising that when that AirTags were announced that we would make something. We just haven't done it. Here's my indie boot in brown Chrome XL. And again, these are about a decade old. I don't baby these at all, but they're beautiful. Really, really comfortable too. That's the thing I'm noticing about the Alden stuff. Just how comfortable they are. My buddy Rose Anvil was kind of crapping on the indie boot. Every time I put it on, I'm really happy about it. And mine haven't fallen apart. I've been wearing these hard for a long time. I mean, I don't know if you can tell how hard I wear them. This is like the Neocork sole that's like almost worn through. Nah, it's not almost worn through. It's worn pretty hard. I love it. It's a great boot. And can you show us the difference between Color 8 and Shell and Color 8 and Chrome Excel? Yeah. We did just look at a few, but I think we have that Color 8 belt. Oh, it was taken. We're Miranda here is going to ship all that stuff that we just looked at, so gotta get them finished. But I think if you look at yesterday's live stream, I did a comparison of those two colors, if I recall correctly. Hi, CW. Matt's here. Good to see you, Matt. Matt says, total reverse does look very cool. How fanatic is the Shell Cordovan stamp ink? Well, it's a permanent ink, but it does tend to blend in once the leather becomes darker. So that's actually something I forgot to say about reverse cordovan is it ages really great, especially in the outside of that Johnny the Fox. It sort of ages in the same way as the raw natural shell, where it becomes darker and brighter. But as it becomes darker, the contrast from the black ink and that light tan reverse color 8 starts to become smaller. So there's much less contrast as it wears in. You will still see it. And I suppose in theory, if you were to like scratch that away, you could start to remove some of the ink, but it is a little bit of a penetrating ink from my experience, meaning that it doesn't just exist on the surface of the leather, it sort of bites in to the fibers a little bit and digs down into it, which is known as a penetrating dye. So all those drum dyed leathers like the Cypress use a penetrating dye in the drums when they make that blue color. What's up, Stephen Shia? Oh, good to see you. Matt says, sorry to you inspire me to nerd questions. No problem there. Regarding dilution of black dye, are aniline dyes water soluble? Yes. I think Horween switched to all water-based dyes. I could be mistaken, but it's my understanding that there is an environmental concern with using solvents. So all the dyes that they use are water soluble. I should ask Nick about that, but I'm pretty sure he's brought up in the podcast before that is the case. I haven't worked there in 4 years now, so I'm a little out of it. And I don't speak for them either, but my understanding is that they've moved to all water-based dyes. Mentioning approximately times MTO. Yeah, it depends on the leather, Matt. For made to order, if we have the leather ready to go, we're kind of looking at 4 weeks right now. There are some, like with Doug Castellon here in the chat, there were some specific challenges where I actually had to make some custom art that we wanted to laser etch into the wallet. So it's something like that. Like I did finish those, Doug, and they're, like I said, cooking right now. We got to sew them up and finish and stuff. But something like that, like if I don't have time that week to make the art and I don't delegate it to somebody else, you might wait an additional week. But roughly speaking, we're looking at like 4 weeks. That's the goal. I do have, hopefully this person's here so I can apologize in person. For Matt B, that we had a custom watch strap on order from Matt for a while ago, and one of our cutting tools for the watch strap dies broke, so we weren't able to make it right away. So he's been waiting a little extra time, but this is what the cutting dies look like. By the way, just got it fixed, and this is a buckle side. See that little hole? That's the buckle hole for the watch bands. So we got the 20 millimeters up here. So this is 20 millimeters on the top here, down to 18 right in the center, and it sort of expands back out. It's like a bow tie. But this is what the watch strap dies look like, and we get the little foam padding in between. So had to get that fixed. We cracked a blade like the day before we were ready to cut this watch strap order, and then stuff happens, right? But our whole goal is just to make it right. So we could have hand cut it. It wouldn't have been as nice. This is perfect. It's precise. And those dies are expensive. Oh my God. Chris Diaz is here. Good morning and hello. I'm glad to see you here. And then your nerd question, Matt says, would the customer, be able to ever undo the glazing on the shell? Yes. I've seen you can kind of dull it back out by, I guess, as it's already assembled into a wallet, maybe not. But if you have like a piece of shell that's bright and shiny, my suggestion would be to dampen it and then do a process called boarding. And I would soft board it, meaning you have the shell facing up and then you sort of roll it over the edge of if this magazine was the leather, I would roll it down across a piece of a board and soften it this way. So see, as it folds over and then you press a little bit against something, this is a process called boarding. You can also do it the other way where the grain or the shell bend back in on itself. So you board it this way is called hard boarding, and then this way is called soft boarding, if that makes any sense. So I would board it damp, and that should dull it out a bit. I've also seen there's a product that Saphir makes called Renomat that you can use to apply onto the shell that seems to remove all the finish from the surface without affecting the patina. I've experimented with that. I actually bought a bunch from a distributor to try to sell it, but I don't fully understand that product yet. It's been years since I've been sitting on it. I have a bunch of Renomat here that I'm just not selling because I don't know it enough yet. But in my experiments, it tends to remove the finish from things. Oh, Christian, maybe you saw your Herbie. That's awesome, man. Matt says, so cool to see unique piece. You're in contact with my brother Matt on MCO. Good. Oh, Christian does some videos? Man, I should check out your channel. I'll check that out after this. Ryan says, any more shell belts? Yes. We haven't made them yet, but we've started working on the next round of shell belts, which the plan right now is to have them be natural. And we're going to do a pre-order again with the natural shell cordovan on the belts, which I'm excited for because that's the color I want. Amit says, any chance you'll make cordovan belts? Yes. And this is what they look like. So we're doing 3-piece belts, and these are made, these were inspired by the original reason that Horween started making cordovan, and that was for razor strops. So back in 1905, they would use the shell cordovan as well as a horsehide strip to hone and sharpen their straight razors. So we took that inspiration and created it into a belt in 3 layers, because the shell is not long enough to make a one continuous piece belt. I think this is actually an irregular. I'm not sure why. But this is a color number 4 shell cordovan belt that we made for the first round of our shell cordovan belts. And everybody that's ordered one should have received their belt already. They're very, very nice and super, super thick. I think it's the perfect casual shell belt. It's not necessarily like a dress belt, although you could certainly wear this with slacks, but it's a bit wider than most dress belts. This is 1.5 inches wide, where most dress belts are 1.25 inch, so they're a little bit more narrow. And then they tend to be thinner and more tapered and beveled looking, the dress belts. The casual belt here is just thick. It's almost like a chunky like harness, and it feels great. I'm actually wearing one right now, and it wears in great too. I'm the person wearing a shell belt the longest. Let me show you what it looks like. Taking off my pants. I haven't polished this, but as this wears in, it's turning great. Like, it's maybe not the easiest to show on camera here, but man, this thing is like impervious. It's just wearing in great. I've worn this maybe like 6 months now, more, almost every day. It's awesome. I really, really like the shell belt. And again, this was, I think, the first pre-production, like the one we were ready to go for production on. I think this was the first one. I just wanted to double check. But we went through many rounds and iterations. Excuse me, I'm burping up coffee. We went through many iterations developing the shell belt. And it was a pretty big challenge to get it just right. It's something we've been considering for years. And Dan and Lupe in the shop here had spent a significant amount of time and consideration just thinking about how to do this the right way, how to get these joints to lay flat. Because it's not particularly easy to combine 3 pieces of leather together. If you look closely, there's this seam, but as I look at it this direction, you can see that lays completely flat, or it ought to be very, very flat and even. That's not an easy thing to do. So it's a pretty advanced amount of, like a large amount of work to get these belts just right, and we're really happy with them. It's just like a little bit of extra. Oh man, good questions here. I appreciate you guys. But good question, Amit. Yeah, we're doing shell belts, but right now we're only able to do them as pre-orders. So the next round will be coming in the next few weeks in natural shell. So if you want to be informed about that, join the newsletter, Ashland Leather newsletter. If you need help signing up for that, you can email me. I'm phil@ashlandleather.com. You can email me and I can add you to the list. But I will send out a notification when they become live. In addition, like most weeks, I have like some sort of special, like something that's happening, and we don't spam you, but we'll send you an email like, hey, heads up, this thing's going up. The goal is to do these sort of pre-orders, and if we ever get caught up enough, we're very busy. The goal would be to stock the classics. Like I'd like to stock Color 8 and Black Shell, like in some hit sizes, like 44 or 34 to 36, 38 maybe, and have those available to go. Because I realize there are people that want them, and it's just a belt that doesn't exist. But they're a lot of work, and we're busy, so I don't want to overpromise here. But that's something we'd like to do. Phil said your brother and I were discussing. Oh, sorry, Matt says your brother and I were discussing the risk of edge stain bleed. What's your take? I haven't seen it. So for example, the shell belts here. These are all hand stained with color 4 dye to match the color of the shell. I'm looking in the back. It looks like these are just like not stain spots, but I don't know. There's no bleeding on this, and this is like the most contrasting color to combine with a darker color on the outside. It does take a bit of extra care to stain this edge by hand and not get it on the backside, but I don't know. I don't really see any bleed there. You can see some denim. So I don't know. I don't think that's a thing. I'm not worried about that. It's just we have to do it right. We have irregular belts because they've had that though. Good questions on Matt. Sager says, why is white leather not common? That's a really good question. Horween doesn't do white because they can't keep it clean. There's entire buildings in the world that only make white leather. So a tannery like Horween that makes thousands of different products in different colors, and they're located in a city, the building has negative pressure, so it's sucking in all the air from the outside. You get brake dust inside the building. All that stuff sits on the leather. And white is really hard to do. It's the hardest to keep things clean and keep them white. So that's why you don't see that. But I would imagine if there was a larger market for white, you'd see. I think there is a lot of white leather made in the world, not from Horween. In fact, I think white and black are the most common colors, but it requires a special facility to finish white correctly. And the Horween has done it, but it's not worth the money for them. Like they can't. You're going to get little spots. They make so much football leather that there's little bits of red, like football dust, football stain, like floating around that place all the time, regardless of how much like air filtering that they do and like all the exhausting and there's like filters that suck the air out. I think one of them's like a water filter. There's a lot. And even with all that stuff, you get like a one little bitty piece of that dye floating around. It's going to stain a piece of white. So it's really, really tough. PRP2 says, I bet raw emerald shell would be super sick. If that's the thing that can be done, that would be great. Yeah, I agree. That would be really nice. I don't think we've seen that, so I should ask them for that. Yeah. I think the other thing about the raw colors is you can see on the natural, it's more more of like a true color. It's lighter. So like raw denim versus normal denim, I really like the color of the raw denim. It's like a nice blue, and it's nice as it's polished and darkens, but it's less like vibrant of a blue. And so I think that green would be a good call. Thanks for joining us, MJD. ELDSS says, do you guys carry an amaretto bifold wallet? We don't carry them, but we can make them. So something like amaretto is always made to order or private stock. So if you want something in amaretto shell, just email my brother Matt at info@ashlandleather.com and tell him what you want, and he'll give you a quote. It's probably about 4 weeks. I think we have amaretto shell right now. My pleasure, Doug. Good to see you. Matt says, thanks for the water-based answer. Just wanted to specify, would you need to raise or lower the pH of the water? They don't, in the tanning process, they change the pHs a bit, and that's there's a lot of consideration for pH in the wet end of the tanning department, but in the finishing department, they are not so concerned with pH. But in the drum dyeing, I know that I might have this backwards, but what they do is they lower the pH. This might be backwards. They might raise it. They lower the pH, impart the dyes into it, and then they fix the dyes in there by changing the pH in the other direction. So there is something there. I am not as familiar with the wet end. Good to see you, Matt. Thanks for the good questions. Good morning, Chris. All right. Softboarding, very clearly explained. My pleasure. You might be able to find somebody to do a video on leather boarding. There's softboarding and hardboarding. Horween shell strap, very good marketing material. Yeah, that was Skip Horween's idea. He told me to do that for the shell belts. Ryan says, do you have Maduro shell belts? We don't. We could do a color called cigar shell cordovan if we have the leather. That is the same as Maduro, I think, or very, very similar. Dan Orion says, was leaning into the Royal Blue Cypress Moran, but that Scotch grain looks incredible and has grown on me. Is that leather still available? No. I'm sorry, man. That's leather I had sitting around for 10 years. It was some like extra sides that we decided to do a little private stock on and clean up our leather inventory. It's just been sitting there for 10 years. Unfortunately, by cleaning it up, that means it's gone. So, I mean, it's something that we could order again, but I won't, unless that's something I decide to carry all the time. But it's very nice. People that pick this up, I'm really excited for you guys to check out just how nice that Chrome XL is. Thanks, Joseph. Good morning. Amit says, would love some shell belts. Any chance you could make a shell dress belt that has cut to size buckle that screws? I'm not going to do that. I don't think that really exists in the market, but I don't really, me personally, I don't really like changing out the buckles. So I'm sort of resistant to that idea of like putting some Chicago screws in that can unscrew and then you can attach in another buckle. I just don't think that's as nice, but it's not to say we couldn't do it. It's just not something that we're set up to do. Sorry. Good question though. Caleb says, digging the texture of the button up. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I've got some appropriate criticism for being a slob. So I wore like an actual shirt today. I'm glad you like the sheen on my belt, Beefette. Good morning, my fellow Ash Hat. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up here. You guys ever considered making an AirPod phone case? We just haven't done it. Richard, good question. I think if we had anything similar, it might be like the Vic Snap wallet. I should actually try to see if I can get my AirPods because I carry them every day. I usually honestly just like to put them in my pocket. It's easier. So I don't know if I want an extra thing, but I imagine most people that put them in a backpack or a bag would want something to hold them. We should do that. We've done phone cases in the past, but this is how old it was. I remember it was for an iPhone 4. It was just like a little sheath. I haven't done that. I'm going to check out Christian after this. How does the thickness of the shell belt compare to the other belts? It's thicker by a couple ounces. I don't have a weight gauge here, but it's probably like 2 to 4 ounces thicker than our normal belts. So the normal belts are around 8 to 10 ounces. The shell belts here are probably around like 12. They're nice. And then the temper of both the leathers on the shell belts there's an interesting psychological effect that I've noticed that things that are softer, you perceive them as thinner, but when you snap a thickness gauge on it, it's actually thicker than you thought it would be. And the same thing goes for firm leathers. So leathers that are firm, you perceive them as thicker, but when you snap a gauge on it, it's actually thinner than you thought it would be. It's pretty weird. That's a constant thing I've noticed over the years. Good question. All right, I'm going to roll out of here, but Russ Bucket says, I heard that the people, like, what's funny about news in Chicago, somebody texted me on the weekend, like, hey, what's going on in Chicago? I heard these, like, people are getting really violent. I'm like, you're in California. How'd you hear about that? I live here, and I don't see anything. But I think there are certain moments where things get out of control. It's just like, I think the news really likes to broadcast those negative things, and like people that live there don't even know about it. It's a big city, and certainly there's problems, but it's not something that like I see pretty much ever. I do hear about it happening. There's things that happen like near my neighborhood, but I never really see it. Anyways, I appreciate you guys being here. We'll end on that sad note about Chicago crime. It's not, all I say is it's not as bad as the news makes it look. All right. Thanks, guys. I hope you have a great day. I'll be back. Tomorrow I'm out, but hopefully we'll be back on Thursday. All right. And stick around for the MTO video. I'm going to take a video of that after this. And I need to check out Christian OEDC. Everybody check him out. All right. See you guys later. Have a great day.